Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, April 21st. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Patricia Valone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, it's the last day to vote early in the primary. We caught up with a few of the candidates as they push for last-minute support. Denise Douglas has the story.
We are at the Sports and Learning Center, which is one of the 8 early voting sites here, and you can see the candidates behind me. I'll kind of step out of the way, drumming up the last-minute votes, talking to people, spreading their message. Inside, people are forming lines to cast their ballots. The lines are definitely steady. There have been so many divisive races during this campaign season that we figured that we would ask the candidates how they will unify the Democratic Party heading forward after the primary, and here is what they had to say.
I think you're going to find unity because, look, you just had Donald Trump on the eastern shore of Maryland with his ugly, divisive politics, and, you know, we're better than that in the United States of America, and Maryland's going to say no to that kind of division. I mean, you know, Republicans trying to turn people against each other based on religion or race or ethnicity. Americans want no part of that at the end of the day. So we're gonna come together, and I think the Democrats are going to do very well this year.
So after this election, the primary election in Maryland, we'll come together as a party. We'll unite around the nominees to make sure that we hold and gain every seat possible, starting from, you know, the president down through the Senate and Congress. But it's a matter, and how do you do that? You remember why we run. We run to promote progressive values and ideals and policies and programs and initiatives to support working families, right, to create jobs and educational opportunities. And when we remind ourselves of that, if we need reminding, then we come together as a party and know that we're the stronger party, the Democrats, to really serve the people in Maryland and in America.
Early voting runs up until 8 o'clock tonight. I'm Denise Douglas, CTV News.
In addition to the Sports and Learning Center, you can also cast your primary vote at the Bowie Gymnasium and the Baden Community Center. There are 8 early voting sites in all.
And if you're still planning to head to the polls today, there are some changes that you need to be aware of. CTV's Latifah Majid has some important information on the paper ballot system.
That's right. This is actually the first year that Prince George's County is using the paper ballots. And according to officials, things are actually going pretty good so far. I'm here with Alicia Alexander with the Board of Elections. Alicia, tell me, have people had any complaints with this new process?
So far, we haven't had any major complaints about the transitioning to the paper ballots. Actually, most people see the value, and it actually solidifies the integrity of their vote.
What made you guys switch the system?
Well, in 2007, the Maryland General Assembly, they actually passed a bill that required the state of Maryland to have a verifiable paper trail. And so here we are, fast forward to 2016, and we're implementing that system.
So tell me a little bit about this process. What are the first steps that people do?
Okay, once the voter checks in, he or she will be asked to go to the ballot table where they will actually receive a paper ballot. From there, that voter will walk over to a ballot booth, complete his or her ballot, and then from there walk over to a scanner and scan the ballot. We've been very, very excited about the turnout. Approximately 30,000 voters have taken the opportunity to vote early, and we expect, since today is the last day, that more people will flood the early voting centers. So we're very, very excited about the turnout. This is actually one of the highest turnouts that we've seen in early voting in quite some time.
Now again, early voting ends today. The sites will be closing at 8 o'clock this evening. In Largo, I'm Latifah Majid, CTV News.
And for more information on early voting sites, visit princegeorgescountymd.gov. Well, she's a former federal prosecutor and state delegate who received the endorsement of the Washington Post. Joseline PENA-MELNYK is one of the 6 Democrats running for the 4th Congressional District. And we caught up with the candidate yesterday as she greeted early voters. PENA-MELNYK says a record of fighting for an increase in the minimum wage and women's issues speaks for itself. She also points to her background as a political plus.
My mom didn't even have a 3rd grade education. but education was important to her. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. My mom was on welfare for a while, and I am an example of the American dream, is what I want for the people of the Fourth. As a legislator, I have voted for the increase of minimum wage. I want to do that at the federal level. As a legislator, I voted for equal pay for women. As a woman, and the only woman running in this race, that is important. We need to be at the table.
Observers say the race to fill the 4th District seat will be tight.
Well, to the presidential race, Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton is hoping to use the momentum from her win in New York to propel her to victory here in Maryland's primary. The state heavily supported her husband in '92 and in the '96 presidential elections. This afternoon, Chelsea Clinton stopped for Mom in Prince George's County. The former first daughter stopped at the Beltsville Library to urge supporters and volunteers to vote next Tuesday. Among the reasons she says Hillary is the best candidate to be commander-in-chief, she says her mom understands that education starts now.
For students who have debt today, she thinks we need to do a few things. One, either allow students or automatically reset for people with student loan debt, and there are more than 40 million Americans with student loan debt in our country, the student loan interest rates to the lowest prevailing interest rate. Second, to allow everyone to be able to pay back their student loans as a percentage of their income, as no more than 10% of their income, and then after 20 years, if there's any outstanding amount, to forgive it. And also to enable people who go to work for institutions like the Children's Defense Fund, or who go work in something that's called VistaCore, which sends doctors and nurses and community health workers into under-resourced parts of our country, to allow that service to effectively pay off their student loans, and to outlaw the federal government from ever making money on student loans.
I do support her mother, Hillary Clinton. I think she has terrific experience and a coherent sense of what it takes to lead the country and what it takes to get things done and what it takes.
And Chelsea Clinton also held Get Out the Vote events in Montgomery and Baltimore counties today. Well, you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott. Stay where you are. CTV News will be back in just a bit.